So this video is a little bit different. This is my first ever park run, so I thought I'd record it and kind of just run you through how it went. So the park run is obviously a 5 kilometer run. I didn't really know kind of how it would go at the start, so didn't really know where to start, as in how far up the queue basically. So I kind of just went towards the front, put a bit to the side, so that if other people were going a lot quicker than I expected to be going, that I could just sort of let them by and sort of settle into my own rhythm. But as you can see here, from the start I kind of jumped out with the kind of lead group. A few people from the inside maybe overtook me, and then I was basically trying to figure out, would I be trying to overtake these people, just hang on to them, or kind of how the 5k would go. So at the moment I'm basically beginning my training for a half marathon in March. So what I wanted to do was to sort of run it at around the pace I'd be hoping to maybe run the half marathon. So that's kind of somewhere between maybe a 3:35 to 3:40 per kilometer pace. So I was kind of treating this as a little bit of a short enough tempo run, less than 20 minutes, and my position in the actual 5k maybe didn't really matter as much. So I was basically just trying to maintain that pace for the full 5k. I've only recently reintroduced speed work 2 weeks ago. So based on that, one thing I wanted to sort of use this park run for is a way of basically seeing what my current limiting factor is. So if I was struggling with breathing and stuff, that would mean that probably aerobically I need to develop a bit more to be able to sustain speed for longer. So that involves more kind of easy running, up on my mileage and stuff like that, which is what I expected to be the result. If it was my legs, it would mean that I probably haven't got my legs used to kind of running a bit faster enough, or even just running distance enough. And in that case I'd be working on strength in the gym and probably speed work in shorter reps, so basically intervals, which is kind of what I do for speed anyway. If everything went smoothly, it would mean that I was probably in a really good place and I could kick on my speed a bit more, and maybe push my kind of half marathon time ambition a bit. So basically I just wanted to use that as a way of kind of gauging my training over the next couple of weeks. The pace I kind of went out at was a bit faster than I wanted for this, but I basically, once the kind of groups spread out a little bit, I settled in quite quickly. So kind of after those first 2 or so corners, I was able to just kind of develop into a nice little rhythm, and sort of maintain my own pace. But as you can see, this group ahead of me were maybe pushing on a little bit faster, so I had to decide whether to kind of go with those or to just stick with what I was doing. So I basically decided to stick with what I was doing. So I sped up this footage because a lot of it is basically me just watching behind these. I could hear people behind me, so I wasn't sure were people gonna maybe try and make a move on me at some point. So I kind of figured if I was kind of making this a race, that would be the race I had, rather than catching up with the fellas in front, unless they sort of went out too fast and slowed down as time went on. It's my first ever park run, so obviously I don't really know any of these people or kind of what paces they'd be running at or whether they'd fall off. So yeah, I just basically stuck in my own race. Well, not really a race, it's a training session basically that I was using this for. So yeah, I was trying to just more stick to my own personal pace. So I'll post my different splits on the screen. You can see that this first one is just about to come up, and my first kilometer was done in 3:33, so a little bit quicker than the pace I aim to set out, but that's kind of normal, especially when you're kind of at the front and trying to clear a bit of space at the very start of a race. So yeah, 3:33 felt fine at this point, but again, those lads in front were obviously kicking on a bit, so I basically want to stick within my own range, and not try focus on catching up with them at all. It's also the kind of furthest rep distances I've done up to this point have been 3k, so they've been done maybe a little bit quicker than this, but I basically wasn't sure kind of the endurance level of it would be. So yeah, again, didn't want to chase those people, but as I was turning around the corner, it gave me a chance to sort of look behind me, and I could see some people kind of close behind me, so I didn't want to slow down either. So I kind of aimed to just stick at what my current effort level was, and kind of see how that went on. As I turned the corner, you went right into a gust of wind, so it was kind of coming right against us. This wasn't the day that there was kind of stormy winds, but it was still fairly windy when the gust hit you. So this long straight on my own, with no one kind of acting as a deflector of the wind, was a little bit tougher. And then as we come to the top and turn right, that's when you were kind of directly running into the wind as well, and a little bit uphill. So yeah, it's kind of a tough enough park run I decided to do for my first one. Nothing too crazy, like no mad hills, but just with the wind it kind of made the small little hills a bit tougher. So I've just gone past the 2k point just before I turned that corner, and the split for the second kilometer was 3:43, so a little bit slower this time, but you can see that the effort pace is actually pretty much the same. So obviously kind of going slightly uphill and against the wind basically made it a tougher effort. So by maintaining the effort level I was doing, my pace did slow down, but it was something that basically I felt was sustainable. And also with the people behind me, this is kind of where I sort of separated from them. So as we come slightly down this little hill, we come to a turn on the right, and again I just use this as a way of just checking behind me. And when I'm running a straight line, I don't really like to sort of look behind me to see what's there, and it can kind of throw you off a little bit, especially if someone's right there. So something like this, a little turn, and you can sort of just glance back, which I did there, and I could see I'd actually opened up a fair gap on them in that time. So from this point I basically was just entirely focused on sticking with my own thing, and not having to worry about anyone behind me, but also just worrying purely about my own pace and making it into a good training session overall. So I've sped this section up a little bit more, but it's a decent little stretch. So you're just basically going up this straight all the way up to the end of the park, and you go out gate and onto the main road. So a few people just casually out jogging, so just past them as I go past the 3 kilometer mark. So you can see the third kilometer was a 3:46. So again, this is the point where I'd basically been running directly into that gust of wind, which was fairly strong. So yeah, naturally kind of slowed down. But obviously at this point, I'm 3/5 of the way into the 5k. So from this point, I kind of knew I could kick on the pace a bit, especially this section here. I think is a little bit downhill. Out on the road then is kind of going to be a flat. And then it's pretty much flat for the rest of it as well. So within this whole, this is the town more in Newcastle, so within this whole park there's not really any climbs, it's just slight ups and downs, which are just made worse when it's basically exposed and open to the wind, which it always is of course. So yeah, just nice and straight along this bit here, and I was basically focusing on picking up the effort a little bit now, which also obviously will then pick up the pace as well. And then just trying to get in as fast as I can. So I was kind of slightly below my target time I think at this point, from the third kilometer. I just wanted to finish a little bit quicker, so I kind of knew that in the last 2 kilometers I'd be able to do that. So we take this sharp right, which I wasn't really a big fan of, but yeah, back into the moors for the final just over a kilometre. So you can see my 4th kilometre there was a 3:33, which put me at 14:35. So if I could kind of do a 3:30ish kilometre, it would mean I finish around 18 minutes, which I would have been happy with. So I basically knew now it's the last kilometre, and the goal here is to kind of finish stronger as you go on, which will replicate basically at the end of an event such as a half marathon. You might want to push towards the end rather than push early and become fatigued. So you want to try just save a little bit in the tank so that you can basically push the kind of maximum effort for, you know, maybe the last kilometre or two. So this is a good stimulation of that. So I had about 3 minutes and 30 seconds to finish in around the 18-minute mark, which was kind of my aim at the beginning, was somewhere between 18 and 18:30. So at this point I knew it was just around that corner, and then we've one final corner on the left, and then I was finished. So you could hear there the wind was a bit stronger, and I was breathing quite heavy, so my lungs were struggling. So it kind of showed me that my limiting factor here at the moment is my aerobic engine, so basically means more mileage and easy running. The legs weren't actually too bad after this at all, so that was what I was looking for. So as I was coming up to the end here, I could see everyone else in sight that was ahead of me, so they didn't get too far. I think the first one finished about 40 seconds ahead of me, and the others like 30 seconds. But you can see my last split there, 3:32 kilometer. I finished in 18:07. So yeah, it's happy enough. My first ever park run, and I'm sure I'll do more for sessions like this in the future. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like and a subscription maybe. And yeah, you'll see more of my training for the half marathon and future marathons as well.